Well, hello everyone.
Hi there.
I'm here on Mental Arts with John Worthington, and as per usual, my guest John Worthington, and we have a little other guest, Leah Worthington. So today we'll be talking a little bit more about dyads and our class coming up, and why do we want them, and what is a dyad, and all that good shenanigans. How about that, John?
How about that?
Okay, well, I'll leave the floor for you.
Thank you. So where
You're
shall I
welcome.
start? Where shall I start? He queries.
Um, well, diets in general, and what do we need to be in one? I guess you need another person to be in one, right?
You kind of do. It wouldn't be a
Yeah.
dyad otherwise. It'd be
Yeah.
an unidad. It's sort of a dyad. Yeah,
Yeah.
It'd be different.
A solo.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay,
Hmm.
well, a dyad is any relationship that has two people in it. Any relationship. You and Leah are a dyad, for instance. You and Pat are a dyad. You and uh, Nikki and you and Josh and you and Luke are all dyads. Each one of you are dyads. You with each one of those. Now, altogether, you are not a dyad. Altogether, you're a family. Okay, but each one of you have a dyadic relationship, and that's true for any two people. If they know each other, they do things together at any level. They're a dyad. If that's a boss and an employee, or two employees working together, they're still dyads. Even when there's a whole group of people, that there's always a dyad in that group of people that bring that group of people together. What do you have to have a dyad other than another person? Well, that's it. Why do we have them? Well, apparently it has to do with why we're here. Um, I think it's more than to be fruitful and multiply. I think that maybe it also includes what things we create on this earth, or in this universe, or in this world. Uh, I don't think we pay attention to that very well, but we do. That's what we're doing all the time, is we're creating some kind of reality with our dyads, or through our dyads, we could say. That doesn't cover your question there, does it?
Well, yeah, but why do we have this class though?
Oh, why do we have the class? Uh-huh. Well, just because we are dyads doesn't mean that we do them well.
Okay.
Okay, um, it's kind of like kids. A dyad doesn't come with a set of instructions.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to make it up, and so you know, over the course of time, there's been lots of ideas that have been brought forward that make up a set of rules that dyads can follow. And then we add, of course, some other ideas that having to do with what we understand these days about programming and computers, and uh, what functions that dyad can actually express uh, on levels other than physical. And
Mm-hmm.
so we cover all those things, plus a lot of historical quotes, which I think there's 40, 50 historical quotes. We go back and say, okay, people talk about relationships in this way, and we try to join those relationships with that idea. Another thing that we do in that class is that we show a dyad how to write a program for the dyad, which is the same as writing a program for a business, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
It both the structure functions in both things, because they're both made up of more than one individual. And so I
Mm-hmm.
can't write a goals means program for somebody else. I have to do a different type of program if I'm going to involve somebody else with it, or if they're going to involve
Mm-hmm.
me with it. It's the same thing.
Yeah, there has to
If
be an
we are going to be
agreement both of
involved,
it do. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So
Now,
in the class, it
here's the strange thing about this. Uh, that works whether you're aware of it or not.
yeah, because you're already doing something, right? Because like what we were talking about, like as a person, like we already do the things that we do. We're just not
Yes,
aware of it.
yes. And so let's take a look at that one, though, for a second. So Are you broke?
Am I broke?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You are? Okay. So that's the create. That's what you and your collective dyads are creating.
Yes.
Isn't that wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
So why are you creating those kinds of things, you think?
Because of what we believe.
Well, sort of, but it's what you're trying to make real with
Mm-hmm.
your significant others.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, is money an issue? Is it too tight to mention, for instance, as Red says?
As who says?
Simply Red. It's a song,
Oh.
not the word.
Oh, okay.
It's before your time.
Okay. So,
All right. So is that how money is for you? Can you actually claim your knowledge as power, for instance? Can Pat claim his knowledge as power, for instance? And is there a value in that knowledge that you claim for power as another, for instance?
mm-hmm.
These are all things that we all struggle with, and maybe throughout all of our lives. But the secret to undoing that is in the dyad, because that's where you can actually change what you're doing so that it's more nearly in line with what needs to be done, is through the dyad.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't sound like you understood it.
Okay, so you're saying that we're always creating things. In a dyad, people by
Yes.
themselves, we have
Okay.
programmings and
Okay. You know my story. You know my story that I always tell about a round table being designed by a couple of guys down at Denny's at 2:00 in the morning on a napkin, right?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you might want to.
Well, that's the story, right? Anything that's made was created someplace.
Mm-hmm.
There was an event where that wasn't a thing, and at the end of that event or the end of that conversation, that thing was becoming real. Okay, and it changed sometime during that conversation. Now, the one I always think is fun is the one that takes place at 2:00 in the morning with a couple of guys getting out of a bar and they're at Denny's drinking coffee and having, I don't know, hungry man breakfast or something. Whatever
The
they can get
slam
that out of
dunk.
it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, especially at 2 in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyway, what the thing is that my point is this: is that we don't realize sometimes, in fact, most of the time, we don't realize that we're creating something. Particularly a couple. Okay, they never realize that what they're creating, because he's
Mm-hmm.
mad because she said, and she's mad because he had that attitude, and he didn't come back, and where was he? And he stayed out with the boys because he wanted to just say, well, she's going to bitch about it, so I'm going to give her something to bitch about, and away we go. And so all of a sudden we don't have, the car is repossessed, or they ran it into the ditch. Was that an accident? Yeah, it was an accident. Funny coincidence, though.
Mm-hmm.
And those coincidences is what I keep looking at. I keep looking at the coincidences I see in people, especially in couples. And I say, well, that's a strange coincidence that relates to this thing that you're doing. You guys do that often or a lot or something? And most often they are, yeah. I mean, not always, but generally they are. Yeah, most of the time people are doing that thing and they're creating it all of the time. And they're not aware of it because no one ever talks about these things because, well, I guess maybe I don't know, maybe we're afraid to claim it. Maybe we don't believe in that shit. It doesn't make any difference whether you believe it
Well,
or it's
I
taking
feel like it's
place.
being done like a lot of couples, and like it's being done to them. Like life is being done to them. They just got the short stand of the stick too. The hate mentality.
Well, but here's the thing. If you don't have another way of looking at it, if you don't have another point of view, if you don't have another perspective to look at these things, then how are you going to see it differently than that?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a problem for all kinds of people. I think that they don't have another way of defining this. It doesn't make any difference whether the way is correct or not. What makes a difference is that you have another way of looking at it, another point of view, another place to say, okay, look, if I treat this as though it might be true, if I treat this as though it may not be false, and I look at it from this other place from where I normally do, that gives me a difference to look at it from. That gives me something to do. That gives me something to correct, a place to begin to say, okay, if that's not what it is, then what is going on? Because we do this fighting, and that fighting does result in bad things, it would appear, perhaps. So how are those things related? Or we do this fighting, we resolve it, we kiss and make up, and good things happen. How come that takes place? Didn't we fight about it? Yeah, we did. And we also resolved the fight so that there's no longer a fight, but now it's a resolution, and now that's the new thing that we're making. Both things can be true, and both things can be true at the same time, even. Okay, and so the reality that we're trying to make is kind of almost has life, almost doesn't have life. It's kind of up there, kind of not up there, because all kinds of people are putting all kinds of crap into it.
So you're saying that the dyad just gives us a way to look at what, as a couple, we are creating, if we're not aware.
Yes, it gives. Well, okay, let's put it this way: the dyad class itself, let's say, defines a number of other perspectives that we could use to examine what we're doing in our couple life, in our shared life with other people, whether it's at work, whether it's at the gas station, whether it's the guy next door, whatever. Whether it's our honey or our children or whoever we're dealing with. All relationships have this thing, this interconnectivity. There are even schools of thought, or I don't know if they're schools exactly as yet, but they're lines of thought that try to relate, for instance, the E8 configuration, which I think has 252 or 254 or 56, I can't remember, ever remember which number it is, connective points. And those connective points are kind of represent the kind of maximum number of dyadic relationships we can have. They're all the people in our life, as it were, those points. Those points are certainly all the subatomic particles that we know about. That the math of the E8 defines that idea pretty much. Even some that we don't know, we can't prove yet. The math of the E8 says that they should be there. And okay, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, okay, why not take advantage of thoughts like that and look at them and treat them as though, with a big dose of doubt, if you want to, but use them as a counterpoint to what you normally do. That's what we suggest in the dyad class, that people use the ideas to kind of, let's say, weigh what they're currently doing. Does it work the same? If it doesn't, well, then what's the harm in looking at it and saying, well, maybe I can fix this so that it works better. I do that with my car. I do that with pumps that make noise. I do that with my dog.
So it's inviting people to just see a different way of looking at, or a different way of doing things. Is that correct?
Well, let's say a different way of thinking about things.
Okay.
Okay, like for instance, a whole lot of couples think that and I'm just going to talk about couples for a second here. This is true. I'll go back and cover this for the boss-employee relationship as well. But a whole lot of couples will deal with this thing where the guy thinks he's in charge or the girl thinks she's in charge, and so whatever they do, it's his or her fault. Depends on whoever's in charge, right? Now the thing is that the reason why they do that is because they perceive themselves as being a bunched up, all together, married thing, okay, and they're not. That can't define them, because they're not that. I mean, they're married, and yes, they're a couple, and yes, you can look at them and say, yep, they live together, they drive cars together, they buy houses, all that stuff. However, they are not together. They're not the same. There's a division between them. Both of them, each one of them are individuals, and they come together to make something like a magnet. There's a north pole and a south pole of a magnet, right? And so they're not the same. They're different. Even though they're joined, even though they're all in one bar, even though they're all in one piece, there's a difference between the North Pole and the South Pole. The same thing's true in a relationship of any variety. That includes a boss-employee relationship. If the boss thinks that he's going to tell everybody what they're going to do, he's probably going to make a number of errors in his business. If his employees are waiting for him to tell them what to do, they're making all manner of errors in their business because they're not thinking for themselves, which is what they're being paid to do, really, if he only knew. But because we don't have a way of talking about these things, not good or bad, we just who do you know that can talk about this stuff? I never knew anybody who would even dare to talk about this in my life. But that doesn't mean that shouldn't be talked about. I think it should be. Somebody's trying to talk with you about it now.
I know. It's my car warranty. Yes, it's a car warranty.
Well, then.
It's about to expire. Yeah, so if we don't have enough, like if we're too busy wrapped in our own stuff, we really cannot see what we're looking with.
Well, here's another one. Are you mad at somebody over a long period of time? What agreement are you making with them?
Oh, okay. So no. Okay. Stop. So when we, don't do that. Hey, come here. I have a stand-up desk, so Luke is putting it up and down. No.
Okay.
No. So one of the things that you're saying, if I'm not mistaken, is that this last part that you're mentioning to us is, okay, if you're mad at someone and you're holding that regret or not regret, that anger in and everything, you're also making a agreement with them, keeping that. I mean, is it keeping that same person in the same person?
That anger is affecting that agreement.
Okay, I don't know what that means.
Okay, so.
Well, I know what that means, but I don't think our listeners would.
All right. So you and Pat go to the fair, and Pat doesn't get you whatever you think he should get you. I'm just making shit up, okay?
Okay.
And so you get mad about it, and when you get back home, you say, you didn't get me whatever I wanted to get, and he says, no, I didn't, bitch. I just didn't get it. I didn't have the money, and we don't need that. But you thought it was very, very, very important for whatever reasons. Who gives a damn what your reasons are? You thought it was important, but Pat didn't see that. But you hold on to the anger about him not seeing it and not buying the thing. And so next year the fair comes around, and you guys say, okay, let's go to the fair. But when you get to the fair, nobody has a good time. Everybody goes their separate way because you're still mad because he didn't get that thing that you thought he was going to get last year. Okay, now all through the year that he didn't get that from me is now being expressed somehow or the other. If it wasn't resolved, it's being expressed. Okay, now don't say, oh no, I don't do that. Yes, you do. Everybody does it. Unless it gets resolved, we express it. I do that. Unless something's resolved, I express that frustration.
Yeah, there's a frustration. Yeah, if we don't.
Yeah. That's right. And it affects how I think. It affects how I talk. It affects how I deal with people.
It affects everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Josh and me had an example is even Josh and me had a little misunderstanding in the earlier of the week, and yesterday it all exploded. But because both of us were so busy, it just it kept on putting that in the backfire. At least with us, we'll talk it out. We'll say what's on and everything because that's how one of the things that in our family we do. If we're mad at, come on, say whatever you need to say, but come on, nobody's in trouble. Come on, let's talk about it. And
right.
This week it just exploded, and so you could see all the uh leading of events of why it ended like it ended yesterday
Hmm. Yes.
because of that.
Well, but see, that only lasted a week, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and
I
that was a long time for
Right.
us.
Well, I've seen
Yeah.
things like that go on for years and years and years. I know of one that went on for more than 30 years.
Hmm.
Never
Yeah.
got
Well.
resolved.
Hmm.
I mean, that's pretty regular. I know, hell, I know one that you know that hasn't been resolved in more than 60 years.
Hmm.
You see, that's what happens is that people hold on to these things and they think it's necessary for them to hold on to it because that's who they are. They say they were hurt, they were the whatever. Well, they weren't actually. It's
Hmm.
that's no more than that's how they talked about that event. That event didn't do anything. It didn't take away their birthday. It didn't change who they were. It didn't change how they thought, other than to say that they now put this angry thing in place against that person, so that they are
Hmm.
cutting off their nose to spite their face in order to make in any agreement they want to make with that person. Well, I don't want to make an agreement with that person. Well,
Hmm.
yeah, actually you do, and you just did. You're now currently making an agreement that person and you are going to fight. Isn't that fun?
Hmm.
Gee, let's do some more of that. Let's see if we can have a war. Maybe we can go to Afghanistan for the next 20 years and have a really good time. What do you think?
Yeah. No. But
No?
I guess
Okay.
that's what we do, though. We put in place like, oh, that person has to, like, hold this fantasy with that person that they have to do as we say, so we can forgive them.
Yeah.
And
And
even if that person does do whatever we say they do, we're not going to forgive them. If we're going to be in
no.
that state, if you hold that much, anger, you won't have the space to forgive them.
Uh-huh. I know somebody who's got a multi-million dollar investment, and in that multi-million dollar investment absolutely refuses to take advantage of where he can make the most money to pay that back.
Hmm.
I know of a couple that's in that exact same position. Haven't made a dollar in years, but yet they keep pouring more money into their business
Hmm.
because they refuse to find the agreement and make those agreements real. That's the only thing. They're still pissed off about something that happened 10, 12 years ago, maybe. I don't know,
Hmm.
5, 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. Who knows? Who cares? I mean, that's a really common occurrence in people that they get
Hmm.
mad about something, they hold on to that mad, and they say, "Oh no, I can't fix that because that happened." And then they say, "Well, in my family, we fix that." No, you don't. You don't fix that actually in your family
Hmm. Because
because you see, you got to count everybody that's in your family as part of your family, and you don't fix that. Then, even the ones that you're mad at, like Houdith,
hmm.
for instance, everybody was mad at Houdith, right? Nobody fixed that. Houdith didn't. Nobody else did either.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean that's the kind of thing that happens. Okay, it just goes on for years on end, right?
Hmm.
And it's like, what for? Why is this rancor there? Why is this anger there constantly? What in the name of God are you guys trying to? Why did they get a divorce? Why did she and her husband get a divorce? I have no idea. The family didn't have anything at all to do with that, right? It was them.
Hmm.
Well, maybe, you know, and maybe not. Maybe there was all kinds of agreements at play there, creating all kinds of funky things. And some of them were good, some of them weren't. Maybe. But here's the thing: is that actually true? I don't know. I really don't know. However, I do know that there's a strange coincidence that's related to the anger that the family had and the divorce that they had, and where it was none of that was resolved with them or within the family. Everybody kept their own thing over what 25 years or so. Wow,
Hmm.
that sounds like good time. Like a good time was had by all.
Hmm.
What for? You see, that doesn't make
Hmm.
good, to me. That doesn't make good sense because nothing's created in there, right? And so
Hmm.
that's like for me, that's one of the things that I do is that people tell me, "Oh, I really agree with. Yes, that's a good. Okay, really, show me. I want to see it. You know, if
Hmm.
I can see it, I'll believe you. But see, what I'm looking at is not what I think you're saying, is it? Oh, well, then where is the reality of that thing that you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for instance, I have an acquaintance that does accounting, and he's always bitching about the companies he works for doesn't have enough money. And I said, okay, great. And so what do you do to help them? Well, I don't do anything. I'm the accountant. I just count the money. Well, wait a second. Don't you represent the company? Well, yeah, but not like that. I mean, I'm not a salesman. Okay, well, if you're not a salesman, then what the hell are you bitching about? Because that's what they need is some help in sales. Are you helping them with that? Are you getting them salesmen? What are you doing for them? Mr. Accountant person. Well, I'm not doing any of those things. Well, okay, I'm sorry. You're not doing any of those things. Then why are you bitching? You're not solving the problem.
No, it's easier to bitch.
Well, yeah. Well, it's also easier to be angry. It's also easier to. Now, this is the big one.
Less resistance. We always go for the resistance.
Listen, it's easier to blame somebody else for why I'm the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
For instance, you can blame your daddy about how you are, for instance, or you can blame your mommy for how you are. Lots of people do that, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just that's how my dad was.
Your dad was like that, huh?
No, they say like when you say, oh yeah, like that's how my dad was.
Oh, okay. That they said it was my dad's fault. That's the reason I'm angry at all men or something. Okay, I see.
Yeah, that's how my mom was.
He yelled at me and said I had to listen and not do the stupid things I was doing. And so, how dare he yell at me?
Yeah.
I mean, who the fuck does he think he is yelling at me? Doesn't he know he's supposed to kiss my ass? I mean, really? Where's it written that dads are supposed to kiss the kid's ass? Because mommy said so? Where is that written? I mean, come on, let's be real about let's be real about the things, folks. Okay, I'm not arguing. I'm not saying anybody's doing anything bad. They're not. We're all being people, but let's be real about what's going on. Actually, see, and that's what we do in the Dyad classes. We bring up some of these things. We say, okay, look, these are real things that you need to pay attention to here, don't you think? And of course, some people they pay attention to them, and some people, well, they do, but they may have to wrestle with it for a period of time. These are not things that you're going to change from the night till in the morning. I mean, or by wiggling your nose or something. You have to work on them. Both parties have to work on them. Sometimes the only way they can work on them is to get divorced. Step completely out of it and reload it because, well, as we all know, excitation causes interlock, and so if somebody's all excited, angry, scared, put out, I just pick one, about something that they're all excited about that thing that they've got going on there, then damn, they're not gonna resolve that because they're interlocked with it. Right, Leah?
Yeah.
Are you interlocked with being hungry?
They know I want to go to sleep.
No, she doesn't want to go to sleep. That's the whole point.
She's like, I need something. I don't know what I need, but she's getting fussy. But well, I invite people that are listening to us to join us on Thursday nights and ask for more information and everything, so they can start looking into what is that they're creating with the people around them. Yeah.
Let me think. Is this the class that we're paying a $10 commission for everybody that somebody brings? Mm-hmm. Is it, Vanessa? Is that what this?
I think that's what Vincent said.
Okay, yeah. So if somebody brings somebody else there, then they get a $10 commission for every class that person attends, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds like a good deal to me. But I'm glad you guys worked that out. But I've never heard of that. But okay, that sounds good. What do you think that's worthwhile for people then?
I think so. Do you think so? I don't know. Vicente was the one.
I think it might be because it's like over the course of an 8-week class. That's what? $80. $80. If you put 2 people, it's 160. If you put etc. It's every person you put in. I mean, damn, if you put 3 people in, you don't pay for your classes, right? That's pretty cool.
Bringing a friend in, you make some money at the same time.
Yeah.
You learn something, you make some money, and you have somebody to go with. And well, okay. Well, thank you guys so much.
Well, you're welcome so much.
Put little Leia to go to sleep because she's.
Okay, listen. I know I showed you how to put them to sleep with sock and a soap, but
Yeah.
I don't think that works all the time. Okay, I'm just saying. Especially when they're that little. Okay, when they're getting bigger, like Josh's size. Okay, you might have to just to get his attention, but so put that soap in a sock. It doesn't leave a mark. They say, but that's such a mess. I mean, how.
No, she won't need that.
You don't need that? Oh, that's good.
No.
I feel so bad for this poor child. This is what she needed.
No, she won't need that. She's a better sleeper than that. Well, okie dokie, guys. Thank you so much. And let us know.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
So, okay, we'll see you later then. How's that?
Okie dokie. Yep. Bye.
Bye.